What's up, guys? This is Webby back again for a special podcast for you. We are going over and discussing WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again. We are having another classic WrestleMania countdown review on our way to WrestleMania 34. Look, when we think about a WrestleMania that has its ups and downs, a roller coaster of a ride, a WrestleMania that is filled with emotions, a WrestleMania that really was the last of its time, a WrestleMania that is one that we will all remember. It is WrestleMania 20. No doubt about that. It was a stacked card. It did have some matches that, quite frankly, WWE kind of does the same type stuff with today, just with different championships. Whatever the case, we're going to be going over WrestleMania 20, an extraordinary show, right here today on the podcast. First off, if this is your first time tuning in, much appreciated. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. Over on Facebook, follow me at 2007 Webby. If you're in the Facebook Live stuff, I do live reactions to some Monday Night Raw segments. I'm wanting to start doing Raw preview and predictions over there, and SmackDown Live preview and predictions over on Facebook. So, should be entertaining for you wrestling fans on Facebook, amongst everything else I do on Facebook. So, tune in for all of that. Now, WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again. We had the Rock and Sock Connection taking on Evolution. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar with Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special guest referee. The Undertaker returning as the Dead Man to tombstone his brother all the way to the outskirts of hell, as JR would say. And then we had Triple H versus Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels. All that plus so much more on WrestleMania 20. First off, let's dive into the Chris Jericho versus Christian matchup. This contest, very intriguing, very entertaining, a good backstory, a good build for us wrestling fans. Both of them wanting to be the boyfriend of Trish Stratus, wanting to get with Trish Stratus. Back and forth, playing mind games with her. Trish Stratus playing mind games with them. And in the end, after this great contest they put on for us, Trish Stratus ends up being with Christian. The heel gets the girl. Trish Stratus helps cost Chris Jericho, who really does, storyline-wise, falls for Trish Stratus. What do you know? What do you say? I mean, really. We all saw this coming. Looking back at this, watching this again, as I'm older, could see it coming. When I was younger, I know I was looking dead straight. Chris Jericho getting a girl. Now, mile away, you could see Christian getting the win. Whatever the case, good contest by these two competitors. Now, The Undertaker versus Kane. What a great backstory. Kane burying The Undertaker alive at the Survivor Series, helping Vince McMahon win at the Survivor Series, having a eulogy saying that The Undertaker is dead, 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 dead. And then all of a sudden, we hear the lights go off. We see the lights go off. And then The Undertaker cost Kane the Royal Rumble. And we start seeing signs of the Phenom coming back to the WWE. We start seeing signs of him coming back. The ring shaking. And Kane not being able to do his usual fire as he used to do. Things of that nature. What would happen at WrestleMania 20? Paul Bear ends up showing up. The Druids. And then the Dead Man walks down the aisle. Absolutely awesome for us wrestling fans. A fantastic moment for us wrestling fans to go back in time, so to speak, and see Paul Bear and The Undertaker joining forces once more. Fantastic. You know, for him to go from the biker gimmick back to the dark side at this time was just great. And it truly was, and always will be, one of the best Undertaker WrestleMania entrances. Of course, he picks up the victory, goes 12-0 at WrestleMania. Kane had a good entrance too. Had the black towel on his head, and the flames lit the city on fire. That was very impressive. Wish they still did more stuff like that. You know, honestly, Kane doesn't look as impressive these days because he doesn't get the fire and that kind of stuff for his entrance. They took all that stuff away. Whatever the case, this was a great moment for us wrestling fans. Match wasn't anything special, but didn't have to be. The fact was, the Dead Man returned. What about Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar? Now, this match was an absolute drag, even going back and watching it now. You know, a lot of times, you know, when we watch it when we were younger, you know, we have one thought, and then when we watch it when we get older, we might have a different opinion on it. When I was younger and I watched it, when it actually happened, I thought it was a drag. I thought it really stunk up the entire show. Watching it now, had the same feeling. The match was slow, it was boring, it drug out the show. Stone Cold Steve Austin couldn't even save the show. It was a very good building process. I wish they did more stuff like this these days with Goldberg sitting in the audience, you know, staring down Brock Lesnar during the main event of No Way Out, excuse me. Wish they did more stuff like that. He had a ticket. They could have done more. They could have done that during the Nakamura AJ Styles build to WrestleMania, you know, during the Fatal 5-Way. But whatever the case, they had a great build. Goldberg costing Brock Lesnar WWE Championship. The whole four-wheeler being stolen by Brock Lesnar and Stone Cold coming over to SmackDown. All of that. But the match really stunk up the joint, and Stone Cold stunning everybody and drinking beer. Couldn't even save it. So, just get past all that. What about the Rock and Sock connection? Taking on Evolution. Now, some would say this was an important, great contest because The Rock came back and teamed up with Mick Foley to form the Rock and Sock connection. Now, that did add an extra layer to it. It did. And it was a very intriguing process because Evolution kept on beating down and 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 beating down Mick Foley for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks until he called the People's Champ to come take on Evolution. However, when you really step back and look at it, they did a tremendous job building up Randy Orton and Batista because Evolution defeated the Rock and Sock Connection at WrestleMania 20. Now, they did pin Mick Foley, which made more sense because Randy Orton picked up the victory over Mick Foley, and they were the ones having the rivalry. The Rock was just there to add some more interest into the matchup. Whatever the case, the match wasn't anything like real special, but it did boost the career, in my eyes, of Randy Orton, mostly, bigly, more than Batista, but it helped both of them because Randy Orton cut an awesome promo when Evolution was all around them, besides Triple H, about the whole story and history of this rivalry leading up to WrestleMania 20. Very good job by the WWE about the Rock and Sock Connection versus Evolution. I would like to say that Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero was an important part of WrestleMania 20. I would really like to say that. Unfortunately, however, I can't, wrestling fans. I just can't. Can't do it. Now, some of you will probably say, oh, well, why not, Webby? It's the WWE Championship. All right, well, number one, there was only a 4-week build. 4 weeks. There was time between No Way Out and WrestleMania to build this storyline up. So 4 or 5 week build. Number two, when you look at Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, when you look at The Undertaker and Kane, when you look at the World Heavyweight Championship matchup, when you look at everything that they had going on around WrestleMania 20, that really was an under-importance matchup. No matter how high they had it on the card. The match itself, very good. Very interesting. One of the best matches on the card. Eddie Guerrero retains the WWE Championship. But not a high list priority on WWE's radar for WrestleMania 20. It just wasn't. Not in my estimation. Eddie Guerrero picks up the victory. Achieve the steal. Now, the main event. Triple H, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels. The crowning achievement of Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit gets the nod to become the world's Heavyweight Champion. Chris Benoit defeats both competitors in a triple threat match. The first time ever the world title is defended in a triple threat matchup at WrestleMania. Now, intriguing storyline. Great contest. Last man standing matchup at the Royal Rumble. Both men can't answer a 10 count. And they were bloodied and battered at the Royal Rumble. Triple H and Shawn Michaels were. Chris Benoit wins the Royal Rumble. All this leads to a contract signing where Shawn Michaels ends up signing the contract. Chris Benoit decides to fight for the world's heavyweight title. So it ends up being a triple threat match. Great contest between these three superstars, and Chris Benoit becomes the world's heavyweight champion. Later on down the road, Triple H recaptures the world's title from Randy Orton because Randy Orton takes the title from Chris Benoit. And as far as the rest of the card is concerned, excuse me, they really treated it like garbage. I'm just sorry to say. I hate to say that. Tag titles, just a bunch of they just threw all the tag teams in it. And the first ones that picked up the victory won. Cruiserweight Championship, whatever. First one that picked up the victory won. The one thing I am going to say is, as far as singles competition, WWE did a much better job back then. And as far as not sticking everybody on the show, they did a much better job back then of kind of picking who actually belongs on the show and who doesn't. Unlike now, who they just throw everybody on the show because they're on the payroll. Whatever the case, WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again. If you have not seen this, go back and watch it. It's worth watching. It's a long WrestleMania. For a WrestleMania back then, 4.5, close to 5 hours. Decent show. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. Amongst everything else I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, Facebook Live, Monday Night Raw reviews, SmackDown Live reviews that you will see right here on this channel. Amongst everything else I do on this channel, go back and check them out. And until I see you again, this is Webby, and I will catch you on the other side. Talk to you later.